What's up YouTube, Silver Dragons here, and this video is about silver versus Bitcoin. So let's do it! Thank you so much for watching my video. I do sincerely appreciate it. If you would like to learn more about investing in precious metals, or if you just want to watch awesome videos about gold and silver, then make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Alright, so silver versus Bitcoin. The reason I'm making this video is actually because I recently took possession of this 1 ounce silver round here, and this round is special because I actually won it. I won it from a friend and we made a bet. We bet the price of silver versus the price of Bitcoin over a 1-year period of time. Now, we actually placed this bet quite a long time ago. It was about a year ago that I actually won, but I took physical delivery of my winnings today. So now I'm making the video on it. But let me talk about that bet specifically, and then I'll just give you my opinions on cryptocurrencies versus precious metals in general. So here's how the bet went. Now, we started in April of 2018, and we were betting the spot price of silver versus the relative price of Bitcoin. So essentially, we were going to compare them against each other and see which one did better over the course of a year. Now, this is kind of a silly bet because, well, if we had some sort of massive hyperinflation or something like that of the US dollar, well, they both would have gone up dramatically, but we're comparing them against each other. And so typically I've looked at cryptocurrencies as being extremely volatile and silver as being fairly volatile compared to gold, but when you compare it to cryptos, it's super stable, rock solid. And so I knew that I had about a 50-50 chance. There was a chance that Bitcoin could go up just randomly, or a chance that Bitcoin could go down. But we were only betting an ounce of silver, so I was willing to do it just for fun. Now, the bet was whoever lost had to give the other person 1 ounce of silver. And my friend gave me this ounce of silver for winning the bet. And so I'm really stoked on it. This is actually one of my favorite silver rounds. It's the honest value. Never fails, USS Constitution. I actually do have a little collection of those. So this one will be joining the others. These are so beautiful. One of my all-time favorites. But anyway, so here's how the bet went. As I pull out, I think I've got 6 of them now. And these last 2 are really nice toners. Look at these ones. Woo! Gorgeous pieces. Anyway, so when we started the bet in April 2018, Bitcoin was right around $9,000 for 1 Bitcoin. And the price of silver was around $16.60. So if silver remained the same, but Bitcoin went up, I would have lost. But that's not what happened. So Bitcoin actually went down quite a bit. Thankfully, the bet ended in April because I think shortly after that, it went back up. But the price of Bitcoin was around $5,000 in April of 2019 for 1 Bitcoin. The price of silver was right around $15 an ounce. So the price of silver did come down slightly, but not nearly as much as Bitcoin did. So I ended up winning. Really stoked on that. Now, here is my thoughts just on cryptos versus precious metals in general. So, first off, cryptocurrencies. They are digital. You can't hold them in your hands. There's nothing physical that you can grasp onto. If the internet goes down, I know there are technically ways to trade Bitcoin using satellites and stuff like that. But generally speaking, if the internet goes down, your Bitcoin is basically worthless. There are some hassles on trading Bitcoin, buying and selling, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to do, just like buying and selling silver. Both of them are pretty easy to do. The thing with Bitcoin is it's extremely volatile, as I mentioned. We've seen it go all the way up to, over $20,000 for 1 Bitcoin. Seen it come back down all the way to like $4,000 for a Bitcoin. And then as I'm making this video, I know it's gained a little bit of ground over the last week, so I think it's somewhere around $8,000 for a Bitcoin right now as I'm making the video. So my thought on cryptos, generally speaking, is that they're so volatile, they're not a good place to store your money, to store your wealth. I know there's a lot of people out there that are really into cryptocurrencies. I'm not trying to bash you. I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. That's just my opinion. They're super volatile. I mean, the whole crypto community, is basically the hold on for dear life people, right? So it's a roller coaster out there. And if you've been into Bitcoin or cryptos in general for a few years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It can go up quite a bit, but it can also go down quite a bit. So the price is basically what people are willing to pay for it. Now, I know there are some advantages like decentralized and things of that nature. You're able to make transactions basically off the books, just like using cash technically, but it would be a digital transaction. So I think there is some advantages to owning cryptocurrencies as far as making transactions are concerned, but just for storing your wealth, in my opinion, it's not a great idea. So here's the thing. If we do have inflation, if we do have hyperinflation, yeah, I'm sure Bitcoin would go up quite a bit because relative to the US dollar, it would be worth a lot more. Basically, the US dollar would be worth a lot less if we had hyperinflation. So there's no doubt the dollar amount for Bitcoin would go up, right? But that would be true for silver as well, and gold. If we had hyperinflation, I mean, you could be looking at $10,000 for an ounce of silver, right? But it's also $10,000 to go out and buy a loaf of bread. So, it's all relative. But I think that generally speaking, cryptos are just too volatile for me to get into, hold a lot of wealth. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have some money in cryptos. I've bought Bitcoin and Litecoin and stuff like that. But I think that it's kind of sketchy to have a lot of your wealth tied up in there, especially for a long period of time. Because the thing is, Bitcoin could go to zero. Yeah, it could go up to $100,000 for Bitcoin, or it could also go to zero. So that's something you got to think about. But as far as putting your money into precious metals, because, this is basically silver versus Bitcoin, if you take my bet, for example, silver held pretty steady. Yeah, it did go down about $1.50 over the course of that year. Obviously, there's fluctuations, but for the most part, it didn't lose a lot of its value. Now, typically, silver actually goes up over a long period of time. If you go way back in time to I don't know how far back you want to go, but let's say we go back to the 60s. Silver was actually very cheap. In fact, silver was part of our coinage until 1965. The dimes, half dollars, and quarters were all made out of 90% silver. A 1 ounce of silver coin would be, there wasn't one back then, at least not a bullion coin from the United States of America, but it'd be worth about $1.40. So 1964, you could say an ounce of silver was about $1.40. And today, it's worth about $15 if you go off the spot price. So clearly over time, it does go up. It basically keeps up with inflation. You can look at it as a hedge against inflation. So yeah, over a long period of time, it does really well. That's why I think silver and gold are such a great place to store your wealth. They're considered the safe haven assets. Now, I actually did a whole video on silver versus currency. So if you want to see how silver keeps up with inflation, I explain it a lot better in that video. I'd highly recommend it. You can click the link up in the corner, as well as I'll have a link in the description down below. But in regards to silver versus Bitcoin, I would say if you're wanting to take some risks with your wealth, and not a lot of us are willing to do that, especially in a recession or depression or whatnot. But if you want to be risky, yeah, you could put your money into cryptocurrency, or if you want to be more conservative and have a little bit more control over your wealth over a period of time, I would highly recommend putting your money into precious metals. We have seen the price of physical silver bullion go up because of all the turmoil that's going on. There's a lot of demand for physical silver right now. The other thing about silver is you can actually just hold it in your hand. So all of these rounds here are 1 ounce of silver, and if I want, I can just pick it up, and I know that I own it because I can literally hold it in my hand. And that's why I love these rounds too so much. The honest value never fails. Such a great saying, such a beautiful silver round. So that was my story on my Bitcoin versus silver experience. Obviously, I could have lost that bet if we had taken it over a different period of time. You can look at how much Bitcoin has gone up and down, and it's seriously a roller coaster. But I think that over the long period of time, I would much rather put my wealth into something that's more stable and has a better proven track record. And so I would go with silver or gold for that matter to store wealth over a long period of time. I think it's much safer. But if you have an opinion that's different from mine, please feel free to leave it down below in the comments section. I want to say a massive thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you all in my next video. Silver Dragons out.